And we're back for another episode. Hello, Sam.
Hi, Kate. How are you?
I'm really well. We are dealing with some technological challenges today. Due to storms in Melbourne, you've got slow internet speed over there, and we're trying to live stream at the same time. So we'll see how we go.
We'll be right.
And the most disconcerting thing is the delay between us. So we apologise to listeners in advance that it might seem like there's a long pause between Sam and I talking, but yeah, we are awake, and it's just the internet speed.
Yeah, there
So,
is a bit of a delay. So,
yeah, we were wondering whether we roll with it, and we're going to try because we're going with the rule of done. Well, what is it? Imperfect beats perfect, something like that. Imperfect action beats perfect inaction. Yeah.
correct.
So, the topic we wanted to talk about today, since 2024 is looming and we're about to embark on a whole new business chapter, each and every one of us, I always find the end of the year is a great time to reflect and look back at what we've done and look forward and try and really hit the ground running in 2024 with a solid plan. And you found this great article, Sam, called The 10 Biggest Business Trends for 2024 that everyone must be ready for now. And it's a good article, so we thought we'd unpack some of the things in there today.
Yes, I love talking about the trends and predictions that the so called experts have for the year. And I actually really like this article because it's talking about two very, very important things in business. And one is technology, and of course, the is the human side of things. And I think the more we embed technology into our business, the more we need to be conscious of how we're connecting and relating to the human beings that are involved in our business.
Mm. Yeah, so points number 1 and 2 in the article. Number 1, of course, wouldn't be anything else other than generative AI, which has taken the world by storm this year. And I think the first one was released a year ago, wasn't it? Just before the turn of 2023 was when ChatGPT was released, and then that's been followed up by Bard, and now Claude, and then the list goes on with all these generative AI apps. And you and I have talked about it a lot because it's changing the way we do business, and we're finding ways to streamline things, and how we used to do things seems so clunky and inefficient now. So now that we've got these tools available, we can really maximize our time. So that was of course, out of the 10 top business trends of 2024, number 1 is generative AI. So you were quite excited about that, Sam.
Yes, and I don't think that there are many SaaS organizations that aren't including some kind of generative AI into their platforms. And I think this is very key for success industries in offering software as a service. Have that generative AI, or you're going to fall behind the market.
Mm. Yeah, just this morning I was asked to sign a teacher's card for the end of year gift for the teacher. And as I was writing my message, that little thing popped up. Would you like AI to generate your message? and I was like, yes, please. And so I got it to generate the message, which of course I had to go and edit and change and make it more to actually sound like my son. But it's so much easier starting with something than a blank page. And like you said, Sam, every SaaS company is onto it. The other day I was creating a survey form, and the same thing. I typed in a multiple choice question, and it asked me if it wanted to AI generate the responses, the multi-choice answers. And they were good. So you're right, everyone's jumped on it, and if you're not, you're really, you're going to be left behind. And as users, it's just getting used to using AI. But that's a good segue onto the second point, isn't it? Which is the second number one biggest trend for 2024 is soft skills and the human touch. So it's interesting that they go hand in hand as number 1 and 2.
Yeah, they're two sides of the same coin, aren't they, really? And I think that the more we see technology embedded in our businesses, in our daily lives, the more we're craving humanity, because obviously the more we need it. And I think businesses are going to miss out on a lot if they're not extremely considerate of how they're interacting and can audiences and stay. I think, because it's not all about it's not all about getting the sale and the consumer at the end of the day. It's also about the suppliers and everyone else that you're interacting with.
Yeah, and that importance for relationships is so critical as well, and people feeling like they're treated as a human, not as a bot, or that whole interaction is becoming really important, and authentic marketing and that human touch. I had a client from Egypt reach out to me this week, or a discovery call, and she's amazing. She'd been following me for years, and she said, I knew that when I get to the point of starting my business, I want you to be the one to teach me marketing, because your marketing is so authentic. And I thought, oh, that's so lovely. What lovely feedback.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I thought, gosh, I've been, we talk about the challenges of staying consistently visible, and I've been finding it hard this year with, juggling all the things. So it's nice to know that it's still reaching some people, and the authenticity is what breaks through the noise. And it's that real, when you stay true to yourself and what you really believe in, it resonates with those who believe what you believe. And because I'm always talking about purpose-driven businesses, that's very much what she's about. So it was just, I think AI is fantastic, and it can generate unlimited content, but we've got to do that work to find out what are we about, what do we stand for, and how do we bring that human authentic touch into the messaging that we're putting out there so that it resonates, because it's that resonance that creates the connection and inspires them to take action, right? We talk about this a lot.
Yeah. But don't you think it's very important to consider the ways in which you're creating content? And I'm going to use us during this podcast as an example, because authentic, no script, no holds barred conversations about business and everything else that impacts what we're doing. This is where people will be turning to channels like, this is why platforms like YouTube, although YouTube can be scripted, that was like in podcasts, I suppose, but you're not sitting in front of an AI. You're listening to the words coming out of someone's mouth, and I think that makes a very big difference.
And the feedback we've had about the podcast so far is that it's relatable, and we share stories that show we're human, and we struggle with the same things that our clients do, and sharing funny stories around that, and dealing with women's stuff and the hormonal swings, and it's that human touch, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
But the other thing I love, though, about point 2 on this article, so point 1 is all about generative AI, and it's talking about, to be an industry leader in 5 years, you need a clear and compelling generative AI strategy. So it's not just about using these tools, to make your life easier. It's about having an actual strategy around generative AI, is what this article is saying. And then the second point is soft skills and the human touch. And aside from what we've just talked about, which is being relatable and authentic and people sharing stories, because that's the human element, they're also saying that organizations in 2024 will be increasing their investment in developing and nurturing skills and attributes such as emotional intelligence, communication, interpersonal problem solving, and thought leadership. And that is just music to my ears.
Yes. It also, particularly clients, this is a tricky area for them, because many people who are neurodivergent do struggle with the communication,
emotional intelligence.
That's areas that they can struggle with. So it's going to be interesting to see not even next year, but over the next few years, as we learn more and more about how the neurodivergent brain works and how we can help them around those challenges. But I mean, emotional intelligence, how do you get around that? That's very, very tricky.
It is really tricky, and it's something I'm passionate about, as you know, Sam, and it all comes down to self-awareness. And I always love, I know there's a lot of people that really resist personality tests, and I was one of those people, because I'm thinking we're all individual, we're all unique, you can't possibly put me in a box. And while this is true, there are so many different systems out there, and they're all just recognizing patterns of behavior. And they are surprisingly accurate, but from one particular lens. It's like we're in the middle of this circle, and personality tests are all around the outside looking at us from a different angle. And so it's going to pick up different information. So every new test that you do gives you new insight about yourself relative to other people. So it's like humanity is this spectrum, it's like this rainbow of variety, right? But then certain people are more like pink, and some are more like purple, and some are more green. And it's just a fact that there are patterns in human behavior. And the more you can be aware of what yours are relative to other people, the more you can be conscious in the moment of where one of your patterns is being triggered, or the other person's, and you're in that moment and you're able to separate yourself, create distance between, rather than reacting, you create space to respond. And I've found like that's the real magic in self-awareness, is rather than being enmeshed in your emotions and reacting in the moment because you've been triggered by something, it's being able to take a few deep breaths and recognize that you've been triggered, questioning what's triggered you, and is it your stuff, or is it the other person's stuff, or is it the situation? It's that ability to self-reflect in the moment and take a different path of action. So rather than getting angry or yelling at someone, or it's taking that space to respond calmly in a way that's not going to further diffuse the situation. And that self-awareness, it's so critical, because then you recognize, wow, we're all different. And I mean, there's so many layers to it. That's a whole podcast episode in itself, isn't it? But what are your thoughts?
It is. Well, brought up thought leadership, and let's talk about leadership in general and the evolution has gone through. Because if you go back 30, 40, 50 years and further, leadership was all about who can do the best job. And it was never about who they were as a person. And we are recognizing, and I love that we are recognizing, that it doesn't necessarily, how well they can do something doesn't necessarily make them a good leader. It's their personal qualities that can make leadership work. So I love that we recognize that first and foremost, and, follow Simon Sinek, and he will awful lot about leadership and about the qualities that you should be working on for you to be a really good leader. And the other thing that I like about the changes I'm seeing forces is moving away from concerning us with skills, because we do suffer massive skill shortages at the moment. We still need workers. So whenever I'm talking to my clients about, who's going to be the next person to bring onto their team, or how do they find stuff, that sort of thing, I also encourage them to ask their candidates to do personality testing, particularly if you're in a small team. Finding the right personalities, I believe, is more important than finding someone with the perfect skills, because skill set doesn't necessarily make your business work, and it can certainly really destroy a great team. if they aren't a good fit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that one of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to find people that are exactly like them, because they think, oh, I just need 10 more of me. No, you don't. You actually need people who have skills and in particular qualities that you don't have, so that you balance, because this is how you're going to get different perspectives, and this is how you're going to really grow your business with a lot more ease.
Yeah, it's about that diversity, isn't it? And like the one of the most simple but powerful systems that you and I know is the bank personality coding system, where it's different value sets. You've got blueprint values, structure and process and stability and duty and responsibility, and things to be in their place and in order. And then they've called them inside the box, and then you've got outside the box, which is the action types. And if there's a box, they'll jump out of it and they'll be rah rah and look at me and let's go win, let's go. They love stimulation and competition and winning and flair and being seen, and they're typically extroverts. And then you've got the nurturers, which are recycle the box, and they're all about relationships and authenticity. And then you've got the knowledge types that love to understand things and know universal truths, and they seek knowledge on a constant basis, and they're always learning is their highest value, one of them. And like you said, if you're a high action person, the worst thing you can do is hire another high action person, because who's going to be doing the real process driven stuff that you need to run a business smoothly, and who's going to be doing the knowledge. You've got to have that full set of skills that covers all the bases in running. And same with all the other tests, like you've got the click colors, you've got the Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, DISC, all of that, and the DISC model that a lot of people know. You've got the dominant types or the inspiring types, but some people just, that's like a nightmare to them. They want to be behind the scenes, doing the behind the scenes work, supporting. And again, you need that mix. So definitely that self-awareness of yourself and your team, as you said, is critical when you're hiring.
Yes. Yeah. And even, Kate, for collaborations, maybe a team isn't on the cards for you just yet, but certainly collaborations is something that I would encourage any to try and do as part of their marketing strategy. But you also you need to be aware of who you're collaborating with and how they work in order for the two of you to do your best job.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And interesting what you said about the qualities of a good leader and Simon Sinek and so on. And I always just, Barack Obama in my mind will always to me be the most positive example of a good leader. And I think it's because he was so humble, but high empathy, and really to listen to the people, so that he could really understand what they're going through and take up their causes. So it's very much about the soft skills, the softer, traditionally what we call feminine skills, which are the listening, the empathy, the intuition, the nurturing. Like, they are now seen, thankfully, as the top qualities of a good leader that organizations are now actively looking for. And if you're a hardcore, my way or the highway kind of leader, it doesn't cut it anymore. Like, those leaders are just not going to, they don't end up thriving because they can't get all their people on board. And what do they say is the definition of a good leader? It's a leader is someone who is able to get their team or their staff to believe in their cause, and be as passionate about it as they are.
Yes, yeah. I can't remember what book I was reading, but it was talking about leadership, and it was yet another reminder that the leaders aren't demanding that people fall in line and follow them. the best leaders are the ones that are encouraging people to walk beside them and be the best people that they can be. And, you know, the old traditional hierarchy, while that and it's important for accountability and responsibility, but you need to dismantle that hierarchy. I think you need to dismantle that hierarchy in order to affect real leadership in any organisational group. And I think, you know, Barack Obama, what a beautiful example of somebody who had that really beautiful balance of authority and humility.
Yes. Yeah. Stunning. Yeah. 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 And just so articulate and well spoken and clever, but humble. You're right. Humble with authority. That's a great way of putting it. Yeah. And yeah, it's interesting. I had a thought and I've just lost it. But
Oh, don't you hate that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, a couple of them. There were two in parallel. And I was thinking, oh, they're good. And then I lost it. But yeah, so it'll come back, yeah. But EQ and leadership. I was going to say one of them has come back. So, Sam, you and I have experienced working in a system where the hierarchy is very much at play,
Yes.
where there's a boss and then there's the minions, so to say, that execute on the boss's plan or vision. And it was not a sustainable business model because the key to good leadership, as we've experienced, not, you know, in all different roles throughout our career, is when you can truly empower someone to really unleash their potential and give them free rein to develop their magic within this, you know, within the container of what the business needs, but not clipping their wings and not telling them, you know, that you can't do it this or that way, but really saying, this is our ultimate goal, and how we get there, it's up to your genius to help us figure that out. And that's what creates the motivation, and that when you're given permission to use your intelligence and savviness to figure out innovative ways of doing things, you're so happy, right? Like that's, I know you and I are happy as pigs in mud when we're allowed to, when we're given free rein to really figure out smart ways of doing things. But when you're told that it has to be done a certain way, and no, you can't do it that way because it has to be done this way, that's when you get disengagement. And the other point, yeah, it's come back, was the Gallup study that's shown with very convincing data that 70% of the global workforce is disengaged. They're not actively engaged in their work. Therefore, they're not passionate about it. They're not engaged. They're not productive. They're spending a lot of their time on their phone, or, you know, so this is costing the global business world billions of dollars a year through disengaged workforce. And that's because, for whatever reason, the leadership teams or the leaders haven't managed to bring their employees on board and get them engaged in the vision and given them the autonomy or whatever it is they need to really thrive and be good at their jobs.
I was actually reading an article, and I wish I could bring it up now just to go over it again, but it was the psychology about thinking that the solution to their staffing problems is just to throw more money at people. And in actual fact, shown in some study that they did that that was actually quite low for engagement and motivation in organisations, values and vision. You know, that throwing money at people, it didn't mean anything to them. I mean, yes, we all want more money, but as far as engaging them as a human being, money was not the motivator. And they determined that it was a doing business.
That's so interesting, because I'm working with a psychologist client at the moment. She runs a practice and she's got 5 or 6 psychologists under her, and she was noticing lack of engagement, and she had the conversation and she was ready with each one, because I said to her, you've got to speak to them individually and ask them what's motivating them. What would motivate them to be more engaged. And yeah, she was ready she'd figured out how much she could offer for pay increase, and she was ready to go in with money. But with one of them, it's exactly what you said. He just said, I want more leadership. I want to have a role that gives me, I want to grow into a new role that gives me authority and credibility. And he wanted extra responsibility. So that looks good on his CV. And, he's obviously in the phase of his career where he's building his skills and experiences. So he wanted to be able to put on his CV that he's the program coordinator or something. She said, so she had to make up some thing they could do that he could champion and be the program coordinator of that, so that he, but that was it. As soon as he got that, given that responsibility, this is your baby, you run with it, you manage it, and we'll meet and we'll discuss progress, but it's yours and this is your opportunity to shine, then he was totally back in full engagement. Yeah. Interesting.
Yes, it's very shallow thinking to think that all that matters to all employees is how much is going to be in their pay packet.
Yeah, it's definitely not the driver.
And
no. Number 3.
These business. Yes.
There you go.
No, I was just going to say that's what this is demonstrating, that there is so much more to us than just the money that we're earning. And until we start tapping into what's important to people on an individual, I think that, we just get, the economy is absolutely good because everyone's so focused on the financial aspect of business without considering the people aspect.
Yeah, that's exactly right. People, I mean, it's thank goodness it's becoming more and more. I mean, even people that work in human resources are saying that title doesn't fit anymore, because human resources just means you've got a business and you've got all these resources, and this is the human part of the resources. It's so inhuman, even though it's, what I mean, it's not treating people like people. And I think every organization that tries to put back people front and center and really nurture them, it's the most profitable business model out there, where people are empowered and they stay, and they're encouraged, they're given room to grow and really thrive. And yeah, but number 3 in the article, so number 1 was Gen AI, then we've got number 2 was what do they call it? Soft skills and the human touch. And then number 3 was the skills solution, the skills shortage.
Yes. So yeah. Once you've got people, you do need skills, but what they're talking about in the skills solution is the shortage of people who are able to use the technologies that we're bringing into our workplace. And particularly with AI, that has developed so rapidly, and it's developed far more quickly than we've been able to upskill people to be able to use it effectively.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and again, you've still got to have human skills, don't you? Even though we've got all this technology now, we still need the human skills to use it all. Yeah, and then so they're saying companies in this 2024 will need to continue to invest in training and upskilling, particularly around disruptive technologies like Gen AI and skills that will be in demand in an AI-driven economy, which is interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. So, the skills that will be in demand, there's going to be less need for those repetitive tasks, which means that as humans across the board, we have to level up and really, it's about interpreting data rather than dealing with, you no longer need to just do data entry because AI can do all that, but it's how do you interpret what that data means and make business decisions out of it, which is the skill that's going to be needed.
Yeah. And I think I mentioned this in an episode, Kate, but it straight away comes back to my mind is the movie Hidden Figures. where the women that were working at NASA were going to be put out of a job. So they upskilled into the future technologies and secured themselves long-term employment in that way. So anybody, that hear this year about AI taking over and there's going to be job shortages and, everyone's sort of out of proportion. But like every single evolution that has been in industry for hundreds of years, it's all about making sure that you're the curve. Whatever you're doing now, if that's a job that's on its way out, you have to learn something new, particularly where the jobs are going to be the jobs of the future.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, fun time. That's fascinating. I didn't know about that movie, Hidden Figures. That sounds like a good one to watch.
Oh, have you not watched it?
Mm.
Oh my gosh, I've seen it quite a few times because it, apart from the fact brilliant actresses in it, I love that this movie addresses so many themes that are relative to women even today.
Yeah, I wonder if it's on Netflix. I was just trying to have a quick look to see if it's on there.
You'll find it on one of the streaming services. It's out there. It's a beautiful movie. I love it so much.
Yeah, I don't think
but
it's
there
on
are some
Netflix.
extremely powerful female actresses in it, and I love it.
That sounds beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. So obviously upskilling. And then number 4 is sustainable business. Yeah. So
Yes.
customers are just increasingly wanting to align with businesses that are trying to reduce their environmental footprint. And I've really noticed that this year as well, that has finally become a thing that customers are driving, thankfully, because that's taken a long time to get to this point.
Yes, definitely. And I think we are becoming a lot more savvy to as in the article, the greenwashing that goes on, the announcement that something is produced sustainably or it's environmentally friendly, that don't you think, Kate, that the labelling laws, this is totally off topic, labelling laws in this country are so insufficient, and they leave products open to being able to label themselves in ways that are very misleading for consumers. I love that consumers now are doing the research and learning a lot more about the way things are manufactured, the product, that can going into manufacturing products, and all of this is, like you say, driving business to become more sustainable.
Yeah. Finally, I just hope it's not too late. I was listening to a lot of the an interview on Triple J yesterday. They were interviewing lots of young people about the big heat. We've had this big heat wave in WA, and they're recommending, predicting, going to be the hottest summer on record, and these young kids just saying it's so frustrating because we're the ones having to live with this, and the old, the stale, older generation don't care because they're on their way out and not their problem, kind of thing. But for the young kids, they're really anxious about it, it seems, which is awful. But also, I mean, I remember going to Al Gore's presentation 20 years ago at the concert hall here in Perth, and I just thought, right, this must be the shake-up that the world needs. Like, he's got so much data here that is irrefutable. It's so clear that we're on a pathway to self-destruction. Surely this is going to be the thing that shakes everyone up and makes us change. But no, 20 years later, we're still faffing around with, summits and stuff that doesn't really result in proper milestones that are driving business. It's been way too slow. Yeah.
Yes, and I think that one of the challenges that we've got is that the powers that be can only. You think about our own system here for legislation, and the timeline to change anything is so extrapolated. And even when they do, legislate things to make business comply and be more sustainable. We are only one country of, over 200 across. And I find it frustrating that, as much as some communities and some countries are doing as much as they can, there are still other countries that have total disregard for it all. And I can understand the youth. I really can.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're right. It's really hard because the developing countries still need to, catch up or get the infrastructure that requires that rapid growth, that requires rapid consumption of, resources. And then you've got all the carbon, they just can't, they don't have the, the disposable income yet to invest in, for consumers to have electric cars. And, in Bali, there's no way you'll get them off riding their mopeds, their petrol scooters, because that's their livelihood. That's how they get around. And, anyway, you and I are not environmental scientists. We have no clue what we're talking about, but
No.
it's nice to speculate anyway. But it's good to see sustainability is finally in the top. It's number 4. So it used to be a bit of an afterthought in business, but it's rising up the ranks in terms of trends that are necessary. So these are all trends that businesses and our clients and us need to embrace to really get ahead of the curve. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Sam, what were your
For any businesses that are
Sorry. I think it's really important for
Okay.
any businesses that are undertaking any kind of sustainability in anything that they do. This is where you've got to be really loud and proud about it in your marketing. So, because this is where consumers are going to turn to those businesses as opposed to other churn and burn businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it is, I mean, I work with a lady who distributes seeds across Australia. She grows everlasting seeds in the region of WA. And it hasn't really been profitable for her to do biodegradable packaging until now. But she's actually finding that she's losing customers. It's still not profitable for her, but she's starting to take the steps necessary to, like, she's registered with the agency so she can get a certain certification, which means that she's working on sustainability. But her customers are now asking for sustainable packaging and biodegradable packaging. So that's forcing her to make the investments and do the things that are, because previously it just was another business expense that was optional. She didn't need to do it, didn't need to do the biodegradable packaging. And so therefore it wasn't something she was prepared to invest in. But now it's really becoming apparent that the consumer will not buy stuff that's packaged in plastic anymore, non-biodegradable plastic. So I love it that it's, slowly consumers, as we become more educated and aware, we are the ones driving the business changes. And, people like my client, they're happy to get on board, but business is hard, and you've got to time your decisions in a way that doesn't send you bankrupt, right? So in business, it's always this fine line between doing the right thing and staying solvent or generating profit. So you can, it's not an easy, I know there's a lot of greenies that get on their, bandwagon about, it's irresponsible business. And yeah, I think until you've run a business, you also don't have the understanding of just how hard it is to really generate sustainable profit. And therefore you've got to really, you can't just go all in on things like that from day one if you want to actually grow. And that's changing though, thankfully. I think the market's changing that. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is a golden opportunity for government to actually invest in more sustainable, manufacturing processes and things like that, so that sustainability become affordable for business. And let's, if we can't totally eradicate sustainable manufacturing of things like plastic, let's just not support them.
And they'll die a natural death.
But
Mm.
I personally would like to invest in any company that can come up with a solution to paper straws.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean,
Oh, they're
metal straws
wretched
are the only.
things.
Yeah. And metal
Yeah.
straws just, that works if you own a cafe and you can rinse them and wash them, but not for disposable means. Yeah, tricky.
No.
Yeah, speaking of
See,
which,
car manufacturers,
my son.
car manufacturers need to include metal spoons and metal straws to the console of the cars so that when you go to the drive-through or wherever you go, you've got your own cutlery and it's part of the car.
Now we're talking. That's brilliant.
Redirect some
of the window washer liquid into a wash thing that will wash them when you put them back. So, because you know what happens, they'll bring them into the kitchen, wash them, and they'll never get back out to the car. So we have
That's right.
washed in the car.
That's amazing. That would be cool. But yeah, those are the kind of things that would make a massive change. Oh, that would make a huge change though. Yeah.
Yes.
So you and I are obviously very passionate about that. Number 5 is personalization at scale. So after sustainability, people are also wanting personable solutions. So they use the example here of L'Oreal, which has developed personalized cosmetics to match customers' skin types. I don't know exactly what that looks like, and what does that mean? Because at the moment you can get, dry, sensitive, all the rest. I wonder what that means.
I don't actually know, but I don't think it was L'Oreal cosmetic companies that has brought out the personalised. So that it perfectly matches. I don't even know how that works because, as you can see, I'm not a big makeup person.
No.
Personalised service.
It's saying here, custom dose. As part of its continued commitment to meeting the diverse beauty needs of consumers, L'Oreal unveils its latest technological advancement, a personalized skincare service called Custom Dose, where science and technology meets personalization. It scans and evaluates the consumer's skin needs and combines active ingredients into tailor-made serum. So if you go into one of those stores, a L'Oreal store in the department store, they'll do a skin analysis, and rather than give you a standard product off the shelf, they'll create one then and there for you with all the active ingredients you need based on your skin type.
Wow, that's very cool.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
So I've struggled with this in a business sense, Sam, because I really believe in that personalization. I know you do too, because in business, every client is different and there's no one size fits all. In terms of building a business, there's 1,000 different ways you can build Rome, but which one do you choose? And I know someone told me the other day that I confuse vernacular terms, and I do. It's all streets lead to Rome, isn't it? Anyway, I'm just noticing the language.
All roads lead to Rome.
All roads lead to Rome. See, I even got it round then. Oh, too funny. I'm always getting those sayings set up. Someone said to me, "You're really good with languages, but your vernacular is terrible." Oh dear. So but so that personalization is so important, and that's why for like 18 months I've resisted putting any programs out there, because I just don't want to do a cookie cutter, like this is how you do things. However, this Egyptian girl said to me the other day, she said, "Don't you have a program or something where you just teach me everything you know about marketing?" And I said, "No, I definitely, I don't have a program that does that. And she said, but can't you create one? Just, tell me all the things that I need to know about marketing, like the foundations. And that's obviously what you and I used to do, Sam. We used to teach a standard program of marketing foundations. And I thought, yeah, why don't I do that? Because it just means you can still give people customized, personalized care and a personalized solution. But if you say to them, you first need to understand these basics and you need to have this information in your head before I can work with you and do the custom stuff. So I'm thinking of creating that program as a self-study. And she said to me, please create it, send it to me, and I'll sell it to all my friends. And so I thought there is a need for generic information, which is why there's hundreds of thousands of programs out there. I know it's not new, but it's just something I've been struggling with. How do you provide that customized level of care? But then also packaging up that generic knowledge that everyone needs to know in order to work with you. So that's definitely my project. She's inspired me to get that marketing fundamentals course out there next year, and she's going to hold me accountable to be my beta tester. So yeah, that's exciting.
That's really cool, Kate. You should do that. I was doing some research over the weekend. I think I spend way too much time on the internet, to be honest, Kate. Anyway, I was researching choice, and I watched the TED Talk, and I really want to read the book. But, you've said this many times about, the confused buyer, doesn't buy it, or whatever your saying is. But, the paradox of choice is all about how, in to set ourselves free by giving ourselves unlimited choices, we actually are feeling more overwhelmed than ever before. So I'm thinking of that in you talking about creating this marketing course and it being a one size fits all. But where you come in is you could potentially create all of these modules on marketing, but the bespoke element of this, someone talks to you, you create the strategy with them, and then you say, right, you need modules 1, 5, 9, 10, and 12.
Ooh,
you don't need the rest. Yes. And that's how your marketing is personalized. Yeah. Because people learn marketing and they think they've got to do it all, and they don't.
Yeah. And that's the L'Oreal approach to marketing. It's like, well, here are all the ingredients, and your specific business needs these ingredients. Yeah. Oh, that's fast. Thank you. You've just helped me think of a really good approach.
Well, the article helped you.
Yeah.
The article made you realise how to do this personalisation at scale.
And I hope this is helpful to other people as well, because I do know there's a lot of people out there creating courses, and you're right. Not everybody wants the full, 100 steps to doing whatever. They might only want steps 1 to 10 or steps 20 and 30 or whatever it is. And so giving them that option to go through a curriculum and buy the bits they need. And if they think they need the rest at another point, it's all, that's another trend I've really noticed, is making information easily accessible to people in a cost-effective way. And I know that the old school market, business strategists would say, oh no, that's not a good business model. You can't just let people buy half the program. They have to buy the whole program. But if it means that there's more people buying bits of your program and it's really serving them, and then they might come back for more and they'll tell their friends about it, that's way more. And you'd rather sell stuff that people can actually consume than sits there forever and they never access.
Yes.
So yeah,
that is the dilemma of course creators. Yeah. Course creators often create courses, and the statistics around course completion are quite low. And I do believe that you're right, because people are creating big, massive courses that teach people everything because they feel like they've got to offer everything in order to get people to buy it. But because you're a marketing strategist, being able to come to you and saying, let's do my strategy, just give me the training I need. overwhelm. It eliminates that paradox of choice and strategy from an expert
and the learning that they need.
and not all of the other stuff.
That's right. Yeah. And just on that note, there's a fascinating thing out there at the moment. I cannot even remember what it's called. It's like you, Sam, we see these amazing platforms and I'm like, wow, that's cool, but I forget the name. But it's a marketing, it's SOPs. So standard operating procedures, right? You know, those that have worked in the corporate world know that an SOP is like a guideline or a set of instructions that you follow to complete a task. And so there's a company that has completed all the SOPs for all different marketing tasks, whether it's creating a Facebook ad or creating an SEO rich blog or generating a headline or all these different marketing things. And they've given you standard operating procedures so you can go in and use their system, and whatever you're trying to do, you get instructions for all of it. So I can see you're Googling there.
I can't help
What
myself.
would it be called?
I love
That's it. It's called ClickMinded.
What is it?
The SOP is called clickminded.com. So remove the stress of managing your agency tasks. And this is, so it's more for people that, well, for small businesses, if you have a virtual assistant, for example, you can say, I need you to run Facebook ads, here's the instructions, or, you know, yeah. So I don't know how we would, but anyway, this girl was saying to me, all my clients, you know, they're using these SOPs, but none of that stuff works unless you have your marketing fundamentals right. Like if you haven't got a clear message and great branding that converts, if you haven't got all that stuff, then none of those SOPs are going to work for you. So it's just interesting. Yeah, but definitely we've got to wrap up our episode. But that was the whole conversation on personalization.
We only got halfway.
Well, there we go. So we've done the top 5. So next time maybe we need to do the next 5 because they're also very, very interesting. And we can put the link to the article. It's the Forbes article in the show notes. And I hope this has been helpful to everyone. But on that note, we shall say goodbye and see you all next time.
Bye.